High performance, to a very large extent, depends on the way we conceptualize how success happens. In fact, you can give a questionnaire to virtually any group of people to probe that very question. And you tend to get two types of answer. Over here, people say, well, success is about talent, having the right genes, hiring super talented people. That's sometimes called the fixed mindset. Over here, people say, well, talent isn't irrelevant, but in the complex world, it isn't enough. Over here, the emphasis is on hard work, disciplined learning, self-evaluation, and crucially, learning from mistakes. Now, this isn't quite as binary as it sounds. People can sit anywhere on this spectrum, but very rigorous science, in fact, randomized controlled trials, suggest that depending on where one sits on this spectrum, generates a very different set of behaviors. Can illustrate this in a number of different ways, but the fixed mindset, I think, is illustrated by Premier League football academies. Young people work hard to get into Arsenal or Manchester United or Chelsea, which is what you would expect. Football is a meritocracy. But once they're there, something odd happens. They take their foot off the gas. They start to coast. The problem isn't a lack of motivation. The problem is a fixed mindset. Because they think they're very talented. After all, they've just got into the Arsenal Academy. They assume their success is preordained. And it means that they don't deploy the behaviors and the practice and the learning that is crucial to fulfilling their potential. In an organizational context, you can see a similar problem with senior doctors. They've got to the top of a well-defined hierarchy. Their success and their credentials are associated with clinical infallibility. But this sets up a very measurable barrier. When they make a mistake, when they make an error, when there is some suboptimal outcome, a precious opportunity to learn, they creatively self-justify. And it means that the learning is not driven through the organization. And that's why the growth mindset is so terribly important. It doesn't mean that talent is irrelevant, but it means that if we want to fulfill our talent, if we want to really start to drive forward, we need to unleash the potential that is within all of us. A very good example of this is when I became the top table tennis player in the country. A majority of the top players at that time didn't just come from the same town or even the same suburb as me, but the same street, Silverdale Road in Reading. And I knew enough, even as a teenager, about genetics that there hadn't been a mutation that had hit that street and eluded the surrounding areas. The reason for the success wasn't just about talent. It was also about having a great coach who gave us access to high quality learning opportunities, a purpose-built club adjacent to the street so that we could really practice, and crucially, a growth mindset. So we recognize the intimate relationship between what we put in and what we got out. And it seems to me that that mindset doesn't say that talent is irrelevant, but it crucially says it isn't enough. And once one recognizes that talent is just a starting point, it liberates us to engage in those behaviors that can create truly world-class performance.